LA's got two teams. What might see a situation where these two LA teams meet in the Western Conference Finals. So
We'll see about that, man. Any NBA fans realize that the conference finals are after the second round. We all know that the Clippers don't make it past the second round. So,
yeah, man, this show is all about NBA. So, man, I know you're a big LA Lakers fan.
yeah, man.
I just wanted to tell me all about how did you start off being a big fan of this?
So for those who don't know me, I mean, you can tell by the accent, I guess. Born and raised in California, from the desert. Mom's Samoan, dad's Dutch. Shit, I was born into it, man. Born in the '80s, so I grew up on the Showtime Lakers, watching Magic and James Worthy and the like. Grew up on the amazing Chet Hearn. Give you guys a little bit of a history lesson on the Lakers. For those of you that don't know, you know, a lot of people want to say, oh, you know, people, Laker fans, they jump on the bandwagon, rah, 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 rah. Well, to be honest, back in the 80s and 70s, when Jerry Buss bought the Lakers, he was the one who actually put the NBA on blast worldwide. Everybody knew what the NBA was, but he put it out there as a product. You know, he had the actors and all that coming to the forum. He had the Laker girls, so had first real popular cheerleaders and all that. So, you know, the Lakers, they're like the original. I mean, people can say what they want to say about Boston, but that was back when there was like 8 or 9 teams in the league. The NBA that we know of today, that's the Lakers. That's what I grew up on. So, like, if you ever see me, like, I used to be a chef, man, and people used to freak out because if I ever cut myself, it'd just be like purple and gold started bleeding down and people be tripping out. I'm like, don't even worry about it.
Oh, shot, brother. So what part of LA did you grow up in?
I actually grew up in the desert, out in a little town called Barstow in the middle, on the way to Vegas. So it's about back in the day, it was about 2 hour drive from LA. Now you probably get there in about an hour and 15, hour and a half. But yeah, middle of nowhere. It was like 10,000 people. There was like 2 Samoans, myself and my mom. Well, 3 and my sister. Yeah. Now, I mean, we had a military base and whatnot, but got a lot of family in LA. Most of them were all Laker fans up until after the Kobe Shaq days, and a couple of them jumped off and decided they want to be Clipper fans. I don't know, maybe they just like the pain or something. I don't know, but maybe they don't like themselves. But yeah, nah.
Yeah, because I always wondered because LA was a town with 2 NBA basketball teams, and I was sort of wondering how does it all work with the fans in there? Like, how do you choose which sort of team everyone, you know?
Most Clipper fans. So I used to be I had a soft spot for the Clippers. Most Laker fans did, and I think the big divide was back when CP3 and Blake Griffin jumped in. Because they try to be like, oh, LA's ours. And that was sort of after the decline from the Kobe and Powell days. So you had Lob City, and you had sort of Kobe on the decline, and, you know, we were sort of on the fringe of the playoffs, and they were giving us hidings, you know, every year. I'm pretty sure you remember those highlights of Blake Griffin dunking all over Powell. And it's sort of around that time they got real cocky. And I think at that point I was like, I've had enough. But, I mean, if you look in LA, there's pockets of Clipper fans, and like I said, it's like even in LA you had the Raiders and the Rams. You know what I mean? And that wasn't so much that you had people that were split on that, but with the Clippers, people just felt sorry for them because they sucked for so long. You know what I mean? And they were just the Clippers. Like, I was a Dominique fan as a kid, and the one time that I actually started going for the Clippers when he went to the Clippers. For about a year after he did his Achilles. And it was just like, all right, well, they're the Clippers, you know? Like I said, the only cousins I have that are Clipper fans are actually, they're all ex-Laker fans. Yeah. And it was like, one of my Usos in LA, Pocky, we were hard, man. We went to we were living in Hawaii. I was living in Hawaii at the time, and we'd won the 2000 championship. And because Hawaii is like an extension of LA, and they had their own little mini parade, you know. And we ended up seeing Shaq at like in the pool, you know, out on Waikiki and whatnot. But it was after that he went back to LA and he saw guys getting the tattoos, the Lakers all over him, and he said, "You all doing too much, man." And that's when he jumped ship and started going for the Clippers. So. I don't know. Maybe people get used to winning too much and just want to try something different. I don't know, man. I'm a one team guy, man. So I mean, I go for one team and I stick with them. And for me, it was the Lakers, Zeus.
Yeah. Yeah, I think part of it is because you grew up there and stuff, so it makes sense. Because me, I think I told you before that I more follow players rather than teams. So over the years, I've been a big NBA fan. I've changed teams according to my favorite player retiring and then moving on to another favorite player. So I think back then I was actually a Laker fan for 1 year.
Yeah.
And that was '95 when Darryl Harris took over as coach.
Yeah, man. And Eddie Jones and Van Axel. And...
That's right. And Van Axel. He was my favorite.
Let's close that door. Sorry, man. Yeah, no, that was a badass team. That was the year before we got Shaq.
Yeah, that's right. But when the Lakers drafted Eddie Jones, man, he was already a star. Right? Like the steals. He reminds me of Trevor Ariza.
Yeah, man. He was like the second coming. Like the way they were sort of streaky, even the way they dunked, and even sort of the way they shot their threes was very similar, huh? But but that backcourt with it was Anthony Pila and Nick Van Exel. They were my favorite backcourt back in those days. And because right now I follow Portland Trailblazers because I'm a Damian Lillard fan. Nick Van Exel actually he's on the bench. No, sorry, I take that back. Van Exel, is he coaching with the Mavs?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Nah, but I remember I always used to say it to my boy as well. Like my son, he's 18, and I'd be like, Sully, man, Fisher was good, but we would have been better with Van Axel. Like that would have been sick, man. But yeah,
I don't know what happened to him because his star sort of declined after he left the LA team.
Yeah, because he went to Denver.
He went to Denver, and he sort of his all-star status declined. But I think Kobe came in when he left.
Yeah, they had 1 year together. They had that first year together, and then he went to Denver. He ended up in Portland, and then where'd he go? He ended up in Dallas, and I think that was it. I can't remember if he played for any of the teams. But yeah, Nick the Quick, he was bad. He was a bad man. Those handles, man. For those of you out there who ain't ever seen or don't know what we're talking about, just type in Nick Van Axel and highlights, and
he was clutch. That's what I loved about his game. That series he had against, I think Lakers were in round 2 of that playoff series with San Antonio Spurs, but they lost in 6 games. Yeah. But the game that they won, where he their last shot to win the game. Yeah, he single-handedly won the game for them.
Yeah, bro.
Hit that road runner in the lane and the last shot. Yeah, man. He was awesome. He was awesome to watch.
Yeah, man. And back then, you didn't see a lot of little guys get up, and he used to get up. That's right. He used to throw it down.
Yeah.
It was always nice. Those are good days, man. Those are the glory days. Shit. Eldon Campbell. Do you know, I'll tell you a quick story. Eldon Campbell was one of the few NBA players that ever be able to place a quarter on the top of a backboard. I think there were only 3 that ever did it, and Eldon Campbell was one of them.
Right at the top?
On the top of the backboard, yeah.
Shit.
I don't even know if you could Google that shit, but I know back then that was a story that used to get spun around. It was like, dude, there's only 3 people that ever done it, and Eldon Campbell was one of them. You're like, dude, that Gumby ass fool. We're like, nah, he got up, man.
Yeah. So at that time, was that when you were over there in LA?
We moved to Samoa in '94.
Oh, okay.
And the homie that put you on to me, Jamie, he came over in '95. Thank God for AFRTS in Samoa, the Armed Force Network for Pongo. You go up there with your antenna. And my dad would be up there, move it to the left, move it to the right. Meanwhile, he's down there watching the game. You know what I mean? But we would get our couple games a week and keep our fingers crossed we got a Laker game. But we didn't have the internet nothing like that back in the day. I can't remember. I don't even know how we kept up with all the stats and what was going on, to be honest. I mean, we had Slam magazines, but it was always Lakers every day. Always. It's always been Lakers.
So 96 rolls around. They draft Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you first saw that guy? Because all I remember was that dunk he did in the preseason against Minnesota. Eh?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, and I remember because we had Shaq same time. He came in '96. That's when we got him in the off season. And it was always sort of like, damn, when my dad used to always get frustrated, he'd be like, pass the ball, he's going to shoot it. Oh, and he shot it again. And he was always jacking up these crazy-ass layups and whatnot. Yeah. And he was what you would consider like a version of a coach killer now, if you did look back then when he was young. I mean, even fast forward to when the whole Kobe Shaq beef happened, me and my dad, we started with Shaq. I want to get rid of Kobe. I was like, nah, keep Diesel. But then Shaq went and he was like, oh, well, we'll stick with Kobe. fuck Shaq. and you remember that first game when he came back with the Heat and Bynum, he was trying to bully up on Bynum, and he sort of knocked Bynum around, and Bynum came down the other way and fucking did a little spin move on him and got around him and dunked it and then pushed to it. It was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, when Kobe came on the scene, man, I was exactly like you. I thought he was like real greedy, real arrogant, you know.
Yeah, man.
All his moves was like, you know, man, he looked exactly like Michael Jordan. Like, you know, it was like kind of like that. Oh, nah, this team sucks. I don't want to support this guy. You know.
Yeah, I don't blame you, man. He was getting the hell out of me, and it sucked because when Eddie Jones went, I thought, really?
Yeah.
We lost Eddie and we kept him. I mean, in retrospect. In hindsight, it's great. You're like, oh, actually, yeah. Look at what Kobe did in the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I remember that, man. In those early days, we were in Samoa back then, and it just Kobe. I mean, I couldn't imagine what it would have been like back in Cali. I imagine it would have been the same shit. It would have been frustrating to a lot of fans because you'd hear it on the even the commentators. They'd be saying it all the time, like, here he goes, he's gonna shoot it again. But
yeah.
Like, what do you always say? You know, you're always gonna miss the shots that you don't shoot, so you just gotta keep shooting. So, Kobe was a perfect example.
It's sort of fitting we're talking about Kobe because he just got accepted in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, man.
Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. But his wife stood up there and did the speech for him. I sort of, you know what? It's funny because for the longest time, I hated Kobe Bryant, but I realized, like, near the end of his career, he started to do that MAMBA mentality stuff and started to preach. He started to preach what why he is like the way he is, like why he's so competitive.
Yeah.
And it was something that I really took notice of because I thought, there's a sort of like, there's a method to a sort of madness, to why he's like that. And you sort of appreciated that because he was sort of preaching it to everyone that would listen. And I remember thinking, fucking Michael Jordan, he never did that.
Nah.
You know?
Jordan was so talented, and he commanded his greatness, that was his style. Whereas Kobe was just Kobe, you know? I don't know if you heard the story about when they went to the Olympics over in London. And they arrived something stupid like 1 or 2 in the morning. Team got there, and everybody was like, we'll go have a sleep. We'll meet around for shoot around in the morning. And his trainer got a text at like 3 or 4 in the morning. He was like, hey, man, you going to come to the gym now? And he's like, what are you talking about? And they got there, and he walked in, and he's like, what the hell are you doing, Kobe? He's like, I got to get my 1,000 shots in. He's like, what are you talking about? And he was like, boom, that was it. And he walked out, had a shower, and came back, and then just refreshed. And then they had practice at like 7 in the morning. He'd been there all night. It's like he just didn't play, you know. When it was all about work, and it was work. So and you could see it even when he did retire. You know, it was all about his kids. You know, and all about family. Now I actually haven't watched I recorded it. The Hall of Fame induction speeches and stuff. I get a big thing like this with Kobe. I don't know. It's, even like when he passed, like I try to like not look at too much stuff, just because when you follow a team for so long and you're so close to them, it's almost like it's weird. It's like a family. Like you sort of feel like you know them and stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it just me being me. I just try to. Yeah. One day I'll sit down and watch all this sort of stuff. But, yeah.
Oh man, it's that probably segues us into our next little topic, the LA Lakers season of 2020-2021. I mean, we're talking about the defending champs. You know, coming into this season last year, hot after the bubble.
Yeah.
the bubble basketball and coming into this new season. They only lost 6 games before the what do you call it, the All-Star weekend.
That's right.
6 games. And now they're like end of the season, they're now 42-30. So they lost 24 games after the and you can know that all attests to LeBron James going down with the injury and Anthony Davis. So they were without their 2 big stars for the longest time this season. But as a big LA Lakers fan, how do you see the whole season?
Well, look, I mean, what can I say? We were just witness to like the shortest turnaround in U.S. sports history. You got 72 days between the end of finals and the first game of the season. So that's not long at all. You know what I mean? Usually these guys got 2 to 3 months off, especially with defending champs and stuff like that. You know, the guys don't come back right away. They have sort of a skeleton squad, and the guys, the fringe players, in the doing the summer camp or whatnot. But what these guys had to do in 72 days, I mean, let's bring up some cool little stats here. It's like, I mean, not just the Lakers alone, but 72 games off, right? You have Milwaukee, who was last year, they finished first in the East, then they finished third this year. That's not too much of a drop off, but you saw some injuries over there. Yeah, Miami, that went from 5 to 6. You had Toronto, which is probably the worst of them all. They went from 2nd to 12th. They just damn near fell off the face of the planet. God knows what the hell happened there. Again, it's all injuries at the end of the day. You know, Kyle Lowry was out for ages. Fred VanVleet was hurt. Boston went from 3 to 7. The Lakes went from 1 to 7. What, Clippers 2 to 4. Denver somehow managed to stay at 3 to 3. And then you got Houston went from 4 to 15. But that's a whole other story on its own as well. You know, you got guys jumping off ship. But yeah, it was hard. I mean, look, it's been a tough season. LeBron was out for about 20 games. AD was out for I think about 35 or so games. Last year we hung our hat on our defense. You know, we finished the year 2nd in defense. Well, this year we finished first. We're first in defensive efficiency right now, which is ridiculous considering the amount of time that we missed with our 2 main players. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Even missing time from Schroeder with his whole COVID, whatever they call it, you know, where they make them sit down because they come close contact. We've been missing Alex Caruso, who, by the way, is one of the most underrated players in the NBA. People can say what they want, but the dude's like top 5 in defensive efficiency. You know, last year they had, I think it was the best trio in the NBA. That had the trio from any team that had the best per was LeBron, AD, and Alex Caruso.
The Caruso.
No, we call him Uso. We call him Uso Cavale, man. He's been Uso Cavale for years. But back when he still had a little bit of hair, like yeah. No, he's the Uso, man. That's the Uso right there. But I mean, you know, look, we managed to squeeze to fall down to the 7th seed. We lost a lot of games that we should have won. We introduced. I mean, if you look at last year's roster to this year's roster, we swapped out a whole bunch of our role players, you know, and we got much younger, you know, whereas like last year we had Rondo, swapped him out for Schroeder. You know, now we got Trez, we got Marc Gasol. People will be talking shit about Marc Gasol. Look, man, you can say what you want to say. The old man's shooting 40% from 3. You know what I mean? And he passes the eye test to me. A lot of Laker fans are hating on him early in the year, saying, you know, he looked old, couldn't move, but that's not his thing at this age. He's there to facilitate, be a ball facilitator. In that time when LeBron and AD were gone, near the end of it, when Schroeder was out and Caruso were out, we're talking the last maybe 3 weeks, on and off, we had no ball handler in the team. I mean, just recently we beat Phoenix in Denver without a point guard. Like, that's ridiculous. And this is when they were still trying to win, which we'll talk about later. Because I know there were teams trying to duck us. They're trying to make sure that they don't have to face us in the first or second round. But yeah, man.
I remember Alex Caruso. I first saw him in the Summer League, the year that Lonzo Ball was drafted.
That's right.
And Lonzo Ball got injured. I think the second game or the first game. And Alex Caruso, he took over. I think he was one of the best players on that.
And he was yamming on folks. And that was the first thing. He was dunking on people. It was him and Kuz. Him and Kuz killed it. Remember, Kuz got what was it? A G League Finals MVP.
Yeah.
That year. No, that was.
Yeah.
And he was signed as an undrafted rookie by OKC. So not only did they have KD, Harden, and Westbrook, they had one of the fourth greatest players of recent times like slip through their fingers. Zeus. LeBron calls him the GOAT. You know what I mean? Nah, man. But in all seriousness, look, he's one of those hard ass working guys. He's hard as nails. Like the dude, he is the embodiment of a role player. Somebody just goes out there, does the hard work, plays hard on the D, distributes the ball, not afraid to take the ball to the rack, not afraid to give the ball up. Making smart. He's got a real smart. He's got a real high basketball IQ.
How do you feel about the team in terms of because there's been a lot of injuries, and for LeBron James, I think this is the longest he's ever been injured in any of the years he's been playing.
It's exact same amount of games he was injured 2 years ago.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was like 27 or something stupid like that. So yeah, no, I mean, look, another silly stat to throw out there is like last year, LeBron won the assist title because he was basically our sort of point guard, right? He's actually averaging more assists this year than last year, which is ridiculous. Well, not averaging more, but he's got more if you look at it on a per game. If we break it down, I mean, the 3-point shooting this year has gone up. With LeBron, of course, he's getting older. We can never, you can't beat Mother Time, or Father Time. You can't beat time. But I think at the end of the day, we'll see whether his ankle holds up. If his ankle holds up through the playoffs, I mean, I'll tell you now. I'll tell you later on. I'll tell you tomorrow. I'll tell you next week until we're gone. The only team that's going to beat the Lakers in this NBA playoffs coming up are the Lakers themselves. That's the only team that's going to beat the Lakers is the Lakers. Because if we get hurt, then yeah, we might just send it in. But they won't give up. I'll tell you that.
How about the chemistry on the team? I mean, with the injuries, chopping and changing the starting lineups because of that, or for the year, how is that going to play a big part in how they do during the playoffs?
So when LeBron went down, we were the number 2 seed in the West, just behind Utah, right. And we went 14-17. Now, so you might say that's bad, but if you think about a team where they centered the whole team's chemistry around those 2 main pieces to stay afloat at almost about 500 throughout period, that's pretty good. I mean, we're talking about playing some of these. We did get blown out in some games, but we did blow some other teams out in those games as well. And it's an old, the old saying, defense wins championships. And it's funny because it's almost like people say, not anymore, man. Teams are averaging 114, 115 points a game. You know what I mean? It's all about shooting threes. Rarely you see teams scoring under 100 at the end of a game. But even in losses, they were still holding teams to about 101, 102 in a game, which it's a testament. Come playoff time, that's when it'll count. And I'm just hoping that it just keeps going, man. That's all I can say. I just hope for the best, dude.
Yeah, I think at the beginning of the year, beginning of the season, I would have said that. The Lakers were a team that would cruise through the season and just turn on the switch come playoff time.
Yeah,
and that's basically what they did last year.
Exactly. I mean, well, before the bubble, we lost. Where did we go? We went 5-1 in the bubble, I think, before the actual playoffs started. And we won the last 5 games. So and historically, LeBron teams lose the last sort of 4 or 5 games of the season. For one reason or another. It's usually resting players and whatnot. But this year, they won 5. So now they've actually they're heading into the playoffs on a roll. So, I mean, we beat Brooklyn with pretty much their whole team. This is when they had Aldridge as well. And that was no AD, no Bron, and we beat them by 25 points. We spanked that ass. And people were like, oh. Like, yeah, that's right. Don't forget about it. We beat Utah. We beat them, smacked them in the mouth by 12 points in Utah. We beat Denver, no Braun, no Schroeder. We beat Phoenix, 13 points. No Braun, no Schroeder, no Kuz. They had everybody punch them in their mouth. So it is what it is, man. Time will tell. We'll see what happens. If the injury bug stays out, I think we'll be fine. And it's not just me being the Laker faithful. It's just seeing what they did in the bubble last year. I never understand everybody talk about this Mickey Mouse chip, because if the Lakers didn't win it, well, would we be saying that about any other team? I doubt it. People just hating on Bron. I hated Bron before he came to the Lakers. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not even gonna front. But when you get the best player in the league, yeah. But when you get the best player in the league, what you gonna do? Yeah. Hard out, man. What you gonna do? Shit.
That's a big question mark for me, because you know how I said last year they were just cruising until they turn on the switch. It's different this year because of the injuries and the rotating the starting lineup without their stars there. Almost all those games they were missed. It's going to be, and they probably had to win those last games going into the play-ins, because they didn't want to. Remember, they didn't want to go to the play-ins. They wanted to stay above.
That's right.
They wanted to stay above. So
we wanted to stay out to give us an extra week. And what happened was what? I know you're a Portland fan, so I'm not clowning on your Trailblazers. I know they were out to win. Look, and give them all credit. Like, y'all beat us. You know what I mean? Like, you guys were out for Dame Dollar was out to get his. But at the same time, I mean, the Clippers, bro, they sat everybody, and they lost to the Rockets, and then they lost to the Thunder. They lost to teams that were trying to lose. Like
What do you make of that? Make of that? Because I've been hearing online that one of the reasons why the Clippers did that, because they didn't want to face LA.
They didn't.
LA Lakers, and they wanted to,
I mean, you look at the playoffs, the way the seedings are, they would have ended up, if they won those last few games and Denver lost, they would have ended up in the 3rd seed. Now, let's say Denver beat Portland in that last game, or even let's say we beaten Portland. Now, we lost, so it would have had to have been Denver beating Portland in that last game. We would have played Clippers in the first round. And same thing, if Denver, even if they go to the 4, I mean, they wanted to do everything to avoid us. Then Denver did the same, because if Denver beat Portland, they would have been playing us in the first round, and they didn't want us either. So they're like, nah, look, we'll leave the Lakers for the conference finals, because that's exactly that's essentially what it's done. Is they've pushed us out. The only way they'll meet the Lakes is if it's in the conference finals. So it is what it is. I've got my own thing. Like, the play-in tournament was a good idea last year, because you had that whole time that was off. You know, we had that whole break in between. There was that break in the season, and you thought, some teams were doing kind of well before that had a chance to, maybe they would have gotten there, but let's let them play 6 games, and if they get within 4 games of the 8th seed, then they get a chance. And I think that should have been the format, because not it's guaranteed the 9th and the 10th go into a play-in tournament, because the 9th and the 10th can be complete shit. I mean, we know for years they've been pushing to try to like reseed the playoffs at the end of the year. They take the top 8 from each side and then reseed it to 1 through 16. You know what I mean? Because they're trying to get rid of all these junk teams coming from the East that can't even win 500. Like, they can't even get to 500, and they're making it into the playoffs. Where what they've actually done is they've now enabled it. They've actually enabled it even worse, to allow even worse teams that are even worse than before to actually get in, which it doesn't really make much sense to me. Had you had it in a way where it was, if you're within 4 games of the last seed, then okay, that makes sense to me. But because now you're getting tanking on a different level. Because the reason why they did this was to prevent teams from tanking to try to get a worse record to get a higher pick. Where now you've got teams tanking that are actually in the playoffs. Like, what the hell? Why the Clippers and Nuggets tanking for? Like, dude, you guys, they were literally had the same record. You know what I mean? Like, years past, you're fighting for that highest seed because you want the home court advantage no matter who you play. It's not about who you're playing. It's just about your seeding. Whereas now, nah. because the Lakers fell so. I don't know if it's just because it's the Lakers. Because I honestly think even if we made it into outside of the play-in, teams are scared of Golden State because Steph Curry, he's fucking shit up, man. He's making all those threes. He's playing, yeah. Steph Curry, man, goddamn. Shout out to the Warriors.
He's an interesting one because he was injured beginning of the season. He came into it late, and he managed to still be the NBA scoring champ.
It's ridiculous, and the way he did it, like he single-handedly dragged them into the playoffs. It reminds me. Remember when Kobe popped his Achilles? You know, when he single-handedly dragged that Laker team with Steve Nash and Dwight Howard into the playoffs, and it cost him his Achilles. Whereas Steph, he's just been raining threes like the shit's going out of style. Like he's crazy. Well, it's Steph Curry. I mean, what do you expect? You sort of thought, oh, maybe he's getting a little bit older. You can't really do it like that no more. Nah, he's a bad man. If Klay comes back next year and he's anything like he was before, and Wiseman stays on his progression, Warriors got a squad next year.
It's interesting you're talking about how teams are tanking that are in the playoffs, and it might be because of the play-in tournament, or it might be the fact that the LA Lakers are down in 7 and 8 seed. But I kind of like the play-in tournament because it allows teams to have a second chance if they have a big injury toll during the season and their guys come back, or if if they're a good team but for some reason they don't peak until late in the season, but it's too late because they're out of the playoff spot. But the 9 and 10 allows these kind of teams to try harder to try have a chance to get in. Now I don't think it's fair they have a full 7-game series for the play-in tournament. I like the one game in the route because otherwise,
the one game's cool, but you know how sometimes you get it where like the 5, 6, and the 7 are hella close, right? And it comes down to like a game or two. It happened. I'm just looking at it now. Dallas, Portland, and the Lakes. We all finished with the same record. So quite easily, you could have fallen from the 5th to the 7th. Lost to the 8th, and then lost to the 9th to 10th. And one day before the last game of the regular season, you were the 5th seed. And a week later, your ass is at home watching the playoffs with everybody else. Yeah. And you're not even worried. Like, you're not even looking at playing the 4th seed. So, I don't know. It depends. I hear you. I know what you mean, but when you got a team like, look at here, we got the Spurs. They're 33 and 39. Now imagine if they won some sort of miracle run and just won those 2 games. And if they're looking for a better product, I can see that the play-in tournament might give you that 1 or 2 games, but at the expense of a series. Because you imagine if you swap out, let's say, Golden State or the Lakes, just let's say for argument's sake, if one of the two of those teams don't make it, right? Then you're going to have Memphis or San Antonio playing the Jazz, who are probably going to get spanked and swept 4-0. So you've now robbed everybody because they lost 2 silly-ass playing games from a 4-game series against the Jazz, which I think we beat the Jazz. But I think the Warriors would push the Jazz to probably 5, 6, maybe 7 games. So I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. We just sort of. I enjoy basketball as it is. Fuck it, who cares? You know what I mean? Like I can't wait to see the game on Thursday. Like, let's go.
I think the other thing about what's good that how they play 7 and 8, and then they play 9 and 10. Because worst case scenario, if you're 7th and you lose both games, you're out.
Yeah,
that's the worst case scenario.
Yeah, hard out.
Because 7 and 8 needs to win that one game to stay at 7. I think whoever wins that first game, 7 or 8,
and it's on the road.
7. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Like I thought originally that the 9th or 10th could like jump up to 7, but the best the 9th or 10th are ever going to get is 8. But I mean, shit. Look, it makes for good TV. They were saying that they reckon the Lakers and Warriors game is going to be the most televised non-finals NBA game in over the last 10 or 12 years. Because it's on prime time, there's no other games going on. And it's Steph versus LeBron. Yeah, man.
Okay, just want to look at the whole season as a whole, right? Season as a whole. what was sort of the things that stood out for you other than the LA Lakers?
Well, Utah. They finished first overall for the first time ever in their franchise history. And they've had to deal with injuries, but they've managed to hack through it. I mean, the amount of the way they were shooting the three was ridiculous, bro. I mean, they've got 3-point shooters all across the board on that team. Outside of that, we had Phoenix. Chris Paul did some, just being the maestro that he is. I'm not the biggest Chris Paul fan, but I mean, look, it's obvious that he's made a huge difference to that team. I mean, what were they last year? Something like 33 and 39 or something silly like that, and now they're 51 and 21. They finished the second best record in the league.
Remember though, the Phoenix Suns were undefeated in the bubble last year.
That's true. They were undefeated in the bubble.
They didn't make it because of results. They needed other results to go their way. But they were.
That was kind of sad. I felt sorry for them because I thought that they were onto something there, and they were smart to go out and get Chris Paul because that's pretty much the only piece that they did need. I mean, I can't remember if Crowder played with them last year, but the rest of that squad's pretty much the same from last year. So that was good. I mean, who else got the Knicks? Hey, the Knicks. What can I say? Look,
fourth seed in the East, man. Who would have thought?
Exactly. And look, I'm echoing what a lot of the other sports writers are saying, but basketball's good when the Knicks are good. I mean, if you go back in the 90s when the Knicks were good, basketball, you got the three biggest markets in the sports markets in the States. You got LA, you got New York, you got Chicago. When you got teams from all three cities humming, it's great. But right now, you don't even need a good team in Chicago. But the fact that New York's come up again, man, it's like a bonus. Do you know what I mean? Julius Randle, look, man, we were massive Julius Randle fans in the house. He always had this ugly sort of turnaround because he's a lefty as well. He had this ugly shot. And he used to make these crazy ass layups, real off balance. But I always thought, man, he was good. But we knew that if we wanted to get Bron, he could never stay because he deserved his own team. He didn't deserve to be a backup to Bron. So it's really good to see him succeeding. I mean, I got him down as the most improved player this year.
Definitely.
That's who I'd vote for. Who else we got? The Nets. the Nets. Okay, somebody's trying to buy a chip. Look, man, no hard feelings. Look, I feel stink for LaMarcus Aldridge, but that shit was getting ridiculous, man. Like, really, who the fuck else they gonna get? Start bringing fools. They might as well start pulling people out of retirement, man. But the way James Harden forced his way out of Houston, and then,
well, was he faking to be overweight or something? He was wearing a pillow under his.
I was just gonna say he had a fat suit on or something. Man. He was looking like Shallow Hell, but it was just like, But I reckon karma is gonna get them in the end, man. They've been doing some silly shit too. You got KD. Look, there's a lot of people out there probably like, oh, you're just a hater. Well, it's all good. I was a LeBron hater as well, but once he puts on that Laker, if any of those guys decide to come and put on that purple and gold, I tell you what, those are my guys, man. But until then, nah, man. I mean, look, Harden's a baller, man. But it's almost, you could say the same about like the Lakers. Is you haven't seen them play together for a lot of games, which you haven't seen the Lakers play with their new squad a lot of games, including with Drummond in the mix now as well. So it'll be interesting. It'll be a huge test. We got the Hawks in the playoffs. Trae Young trying to do something. He's not going to do much. I'm not hating. I'm just saying it's like. But I mean, look, you got a Miami Heat. There's another team. Unfortunately, they lost Oladipo. But the Heat, look what they did last year. Who knows?
They lost Oladipo, but they're still pretty much the same team as last year.
Exactly. I mean, you got Bam and you got Jimmy. Shit, what else do you need? Last year, you got Tyler Hero. You got the other role players and whatnot. But Bam's been playing. He's had a hell of a season, man.
Yeah.
I mean, other than that, Dallas, you got Doncic that's been doing some ridiculous shit this year. But I mean, he's just going to be one of those guys that I don't know if Dallas would be his team. Will he end up like Dirk and get that one chip, and that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. See, I get what's this bottle services shit? Not no, but you got Doncic. Look, he might be one of those guys that needs to go to a big market. Dirk did it. Luka might do it. Not anytime soon, I don't think. I think there's too many big teams in the West, unless they can somehow swing and get themselves another superstar, a la Brooklyn Nets. You know what I mean? And stack themselves up a team. But I mean, outside of that, who knows? I mean, it's if my Lakers stay healthy, it's Lakers in 5, man.
At the beginning of the season, if you would have told me that Utah Jazz will be number 1 in the West and Phoenix Suns will be second, I would have told you fuck off.
Yeah,
no
straight up, dog. I would have been like, you fucking crazy, man. And I think we were talking about this the other night. I said, dog, if I put $5 down and said that the Jazz and the Suns are going to finish 1 and 2, and that the Nets are going to finish 2 in the East, motherfucker, you'd be rich as hell. Well, not rich as hell, but that'd be a badass parlay, man, because the odds of that, even if you said that the Knicks are going to make the playoffs, wow, you might have gotten maybe a couple dollars on that, but you know what I mean? At the beginning of the year, I mean, looking at just seeing Memphis as low as they are, I mean, who fell out? You got Toronto, not even in the picture.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Even Boston. For some reason, I had Boston up there at the beginning of the season. But, mind you, though, when you talk about Brooklyn Nets, I have to agree with you. That seems crazy. And I did not expect the team to turn out this way now. Because remember, at the beginning of the season, I thought it was just going to be Kyrie and Durant was coming back from injury.
Then you didn't know what you're getting.
Exactly.
You never know. You didn't know what you're going to get in KD. Anybody, historically, anybody comes off an Achilles injury, they're 9 out of 10 times not the same. I mentioned earlier about Dominique coming back from an Achilles. Him and Grant Hill were sort of your best case scenarios that you'll get if you come off an Achilles tendon injury. But I mean, look, KD, and like you said, now they got Harden as well. I mean, Blake Griffin, we would have laughed even if they told me at the beginning of the year, they're gonna have breakthrough. Oh, fuck, who cares? Breakthrough from he ain't doing shit in Detroit. Then he puts on a Brooklyn jersey and now he's dunking again. You're like, are you serious? What the fuck's going on here? And then they got Aldridge. I mean, unfortunately, he had his own medical issues, but still, I mean, had he stayed healthy, then I'd actually have some major concerns, and I would have them probably taken out the East. But I actually still don't have them taking out these. I think Philly's got a good chance. Embiid is just ridiculous. He's a monster.
The other thing, you just reminded me. I remember before the trade deadline, the LA Lakers were trying to get Kyle Lowry from Toronto, if you remember that, and instead they had to settle for Andre Drummond. I think he worked out. He's worked out.
Now we had Drummond. And then they were also trying to get Lowry. And the reason why they didn't pull the trigger is because Toronto wanted THT, Taylor Horton Tucker. And I don't know if you've seen much of his highlights, but that kid, he's going to be a star. He's going to be something else. I don't think he's like the second coming of Kobe or anything like that. But he's someone that LeBron had been watching since he was when that kid was in high school. And I think he was always in the Lakers' ears, like, you need to draft that kid and draft him as soon as you can, like pick him up if he's still available when we had our picks. And they did. And he's turning out well. And that was that's the only reason we didn't get Kyle Lowry. I would have been hard to keep him next year anyway with the salary cap and whatnot. But back what you said about Drummond. I mean, that's a scary ass lineup if you think about it. LeBron, AD, and Dre. Like, shit. That I mean, I listened to ESPN LA, and one of the sports talk guys was saying that's got to be one of the toughest front courts in NBA history. I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, there've been some good ones, but just dominant in how, I mean, they're not doing it like right now. Oh shit, this thing was gonna die. I think this shit's gonna die. Just in case my camera goes off, I might have to switch over, but
Okay.
Sorry. But Drummond, man, like, look, that guy. I mean, he's a walking double. You know what I mean? And he cleans up the offensive boards. So if you're looking about getting 6-7 offensive boards a night, that's easy an extra 14, 15 points on the board that you otherwise wouldn't have. And that's nightly. I mean daily. Like, he's been doing it. And he started off a bit rusty, but he's starting to find his groove, and he's getting about 1-2 blocks a game as well, man. So now it'd be interesting. It'd be real interesting to see how they all sort of come together. And it's LeBron at the end of the day. That's how those guys, the success of all those different pieces all hangs on LeBron, on if he's able to mold them. Yeah, man.
Because, like, that brings me to my next question. The game against the Warriors this Thursday, right? That front court, I think, would be the key to beating the Warriors, I think. Because I know that I support Portland Trailblazers, and they struggle with tall guys, with big guys, so they will struggle against someone like the LA Lakers if they face off with them. But that front court needs to be on, I think, to beat the Warriors.
You're absolutely right. I was thinking about it earlier today too when I was driving around. I thought to myself, man, the key to that game is going to be like the first quarter. If they can come out and punch him in the mouth and just not let them get anything and let Schroeder just hound the hell out of Steph, they'll have nothing, unfortunately, for the Warriors. I mean, my brother-in-law and some of my best friends, they're Warriors fans, but that's my. I mean, it might not happen. It might be otherwise, but that's what I think. I think that's how it's going to go down. Is that our big guys are just going to just overwhelm them up front. They don't really have anybody big that's real skillful on the defensive end to stop our guys, stop our front court, and it'll be up to our back court to try to tame. Here's my hot take: if the Lakers blow out the Warriors, or if we win, but I reckon it's gonna be about 10 or 15 points. It's gonna be because we keep Steph under 35. It's only Steph and Steph only that can beat us.
Yeah.
Andrew Wiggins, he'll put in his little 15, 18 points at best. Draymond's gonna get it. Draymond get maybe like 7, 2, and 8 or something stupid like that. 8 assists and and maybe a tech. But outside of them, we got Jordan Poole shooting a couple threes. I mean, unfortunately for them, they've lost the guys that they need. I mean, Steph can only pull them so far. But that's against us. I think they match up much better against the Jazz. Because with the Jazz, they're a 3-point shooting team. So their offense is based on the exterior. So they don't really have to worry about defending the keys too much. Because Gobert's
got no chance. He's got no chance against AD. He's got no chance against AD. Gobert.
No, unfortunately, the only center I think that has a chance against AD is Embiid. He's the only guy I think that can go head up with AD and really, really bother him. Outside of Embiid, I mean, look, what did Jokic do last year? Fuck all. You do nothing. Well, we had Houston. When we played Houston, they didn't even have a center,
Yeah.
When we played against, we had you guys in the first round last year. Nurkic wasn't even playing, was he?
No. He was out.
No, who the hell?
We had Enes Kanter.
Yeah, there we go. It was Kanter. I mean, Kanter can't do much, unfortunately. Who we got this year? We got Phoenix. Who's Phoenix got down low? DeAndre Ayton. The times we played Phoenix, he's beating them up. The problem with defending a guy like AD is he can play inside and out. And if you've got a guy like Drummond that's with him on the court at the same time, it's like it's ridiculous, man. Seriously, it's not fair, man. If they stay healthy, it's not fair. It's not fair. Like I said, Lakers in 5. I got them all my predictions down. We're winning all our series 4-1, 4-1, 4-1. We might drop 2 in a series. That's my bad. Lakers in 5. Like in the great words of O'Shea Jackson Jr., that's Ice Cube's son. He said, Lakers in 5, baby.
Okay, Lakers gonna win. They'll meet They'll meet Phoenix number 2. That's right there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So here we go. I'll have a look here real quick. You want to have a look? Let's talk about the play-in tournament real quick. So you got Charlotte and Indiana. You got Washington, Boston. You got San Antonio, Memphis, and you got Golden State, the Lakes. We look at the first series. We're looking at Charlotte, Indiana. Charlotte was I enjoyed watching Charlotte throughout the year. I thought they were kind of cool with LaMelo Ball and and what's the guy named Bridges? Now he's throwing all the alley oops too.
Oh yeah, the dunker.
Yeah, the dunker. And then
he's got he's got top 10 dunks this season, man.
Bro, and LaMelo's sick. And then when LaMelo went down, I was like, oh fuck, man, what's gonna happen? I thought they were cool. Well, Rozier's back. Melo's back. They lost, unfortunately, 15 of the last 21 games, but LaMelo's just come back. And then you got Indiana on the flip side, who's got Sabonis, what's his name, son, Arvydas Sabonis' son, who's been balling out, made the All-Stars and whatnot. He's just come back from injury. Brogdon's just come back. And they got a little white boy, T.J. McConnell. He's sort of their backup point guard. They don't have Miles Turner, but McConnell's been throwing up dimes like it's nothing. Regular season, who you got... was it Indiana won 2 of the 3 games they played. But the winner of this game, unfortunately, is going to play the loser of the Washington-Boston series, play-in. So if either of those teams manage to get to cause an upset, then they end up playing Philly, which I don't think whoever ends up in the 8th seed is not beating Philly. I've actually got Philly high up on my board. So with that being said, I reckon Charlotte will probably win that play-in tournament against Indiana. And then I actually got Charlotte beating Boston. Because if
you got Boston winning against Washington. I actually got the other way around.
No, other way around. I got Washington beating Boston.
Oh, yeah.
I got Washington beating Boston. And then we got Boston playing against Charlotte. It'll be the loser playing the winner of the 9-10.
Yep.
Now, unfortunately for Boston, Jaylen Brown's out. So the bulk of that their load is going to sit on Kemba Walker and Jason Tatum. They got Evan Fournier in the I think was it in the buyout market or something like that, or in a trade. Got Tristan Thompson, got Teague, but they're playing against Washington, and Washington's hot, man. They got Westbrook that's just playing ridiculous at the moment. You got Bradley Beal that's playing stupid as well. Outside of them, though, they've only got a couple 3-point shooters and Hachimura, which I don't know if you've seen Hachimura's play, but he's that Japanese dude. He's pretty badass.
So what about the Memphis Spurs?
With Memphis Spurs, that matchup, unfortunately for those guys, I mean, look, a Popovich coach team is going to get you in the playoffs 19 out of 20 times, I think it's happened. So, I mean, look, he's got DeRozan, he's got DeJounte Murray, you got Rudy Gay, you got Patty Mills. It might get him past Memphis. I don't know. Ja's pretty sick. Memphis, they're a fun team. They just got Jaren Jackson back. We don't really know what we got in him because he had about 10 or so games at the end of the year. Valanciunas is balling. They got that slow-mo Kyle Anderson. So that could make for an interesting series. San Antonio won the season series 2-3. None of the games were particularly close, though. So, again, it's one of those where you don't really know. You can't really go off based on what you saw in the regular season. But unfortunately for whoever wins that game, they're going to be playing either the Lakers or the Warriors. So I feel sorry for them. But, hey, look, it will probably be an entertaining game. But that's as far as either of them are going to go. And like we spoke about already before, Lakers and Warriors, I just don't think the Warriors have enough depth to stay in it with us. We won 2 of the 3 games in the season. The one game they won was the game where we had a 14-point lead with about 3 or 4 minutes left in the game, and Steph hit a whole bunch of threes and some runners and stuff from bottom back and hit it. I think he hit a 3 with, a couple seconds left in the game and won it for him. So, yeah, I mean, I actually don't. It might not be as close as people expect it to be. Our front courts, I just don't think they can match up well with us in the front court with our bigs, with Dre, AD, and LeBron.
Yeah, I like LA Lakers' chances against the Warriors on Thursday. Same as you. For the Spurs Memphis game, I like the look of Memphis because I love watching Ja Morant. He's the man. He's an exciting player to watch. But like, I wouldn't get past Spurs because of the Popovich factor.
Yeah,
Being,
man.
you know, he's the best coach in history of the NBA, and you know he's used to those USA games where they have one game at a time, or those tournaments they have. So being in the play-in, you got to win one game, two games
Yep.
if you're 9 and 10. So that'll be their advantage, I think.
No, you're absolutely right. A Popovich team's a scary team. I mean, no matter what seed or who they're playing. I mean, he's done it time in, time out. And like I said before, look, he's got some decent pieces. Like DeJounte Murray, he's going to be one hell of a player. His success won't solely depend on Pop hanging around, but it'll be a lot better if Pop did hang around. Because I mean, look at the players that Pop's turned out. You know, you got the Patty Mills, you got the DeRozans, you got the Ginobili's. Sorry, not DeRozan. DeRozan's with him now, but you know, you had Aldridge, even though Aldridge was with Portland before, but he's had so many good pieces that he just is able to keep them running. So no, it'll be interesting. It's a game to watch, but ultimately, unfortunately for both of those teams, whoever wins, who knows? They might be able to pull off an upset because again, like you said, it's a one off game. There's not a 7 game series. So I mean, knock on wood, somebody gets hurt. You never know what happens. Um, but yeah, I mean that's your play-in tournament. I mean, then if we look at the playoffs, well, we could run through the playoffs. Do you want to run through the playoffs? Or we do some of the end of the season awards. So we've got a couple guys out here.
Yeah, we'll do the end of season awards. So we'll start off with MVP.
All right. So I've got a few guys here that I've had a look at that I thought, oh, you know, they've made their mark. You know, every year they usually base it on one of a handful of things, whether it's the best player on the best team, the best defensive player on the best team that may have the best defensive team, or someone who has got the best stats across the board. And it's sort of like a mental floating team where you have players who just have historical, phenomenal seasons, and then they might get it. You know what I mean? And this year we've actually got a perfect mix of the whole lot. So I mean, here we go. I got 2, 4, 6. I got 6 guys that I've earmarked for MVP. So you know, you got Steph winning scoring title, first time in what 5, 6 years. Last time he did it, he won an MVP. So he's averaging 32 points a game, got 5.5 rebounds, 5.8 assists, 1.2 steals, and he's got 26.37, 6 per. So it's a 6 per in the league. It's not too bad. They don't have the greatest record, but hey, look, it's Steph. He's doing something amazing at his age. You got CP3, who's basically taken Phoenix, even though, like we spoke about before, Phoenix went undefeated before in their first games in the bubble last year. So it showed a bit of promise. But at the end of the year, I mean, they finished with, what was a 34-39 record. This year, finishing regular season 51-21, second in the league overall. Dude's ridiculous. He's averaging 8.9 assists a game, 16 points, and 4.5 rebounds. Then you got Giannis, the freak. He's averaging 28 points a game, fifth in the league, eighth in the league in rebounds, 11 a game, and third in the league in his part with 29.2. So again, Giannis having a real dominant year. His defensive stats aren't like jumping off the paper, but he's still doing it on both ends. And they're sitting, what are they, second or third in the East. So you can't overlook him. Then you got Westbrook. We already spoke about Westbrook. He's ridiculous. Dude's got 38 triple doubles. You know, he's averaging 22 points, 11 rebounds, 6 in the league, and 11 assists. That's first in the league. You know, he won the assist title and averaging a triple double. It's crazy. You know, there's not many guys in history that have done it. Oscar Robinson's done it. You know, and now you got Westbrook in our days. And then there's Jokic. Jokic, he's got 26 points a game. That's ninth in the league. 8.3 assists in the league. That's 6, and that's ridiculous for a big man his size doing what he's doing. And he's leading the league in per at 31.3, and he's got 16 triple doubles to his name. So Jokic is doing something that's ridiculous as well. And then last but not least is Embiid, who's fourth in the league at 28.5 points a game. 10th league at 10 rebounds a game, and he's averaging 30.3 per, which is second in the league. So I mean, to me personally, the eye test, I think Steph and Westbrook jump off like they look amazing from what they're doing. But unfortunately, they're on teams where the records are real subpar. Pretty much, they're barely just skating into the playoffs, if that. Um, unfortunately, I don't think either of them will get it. Although they do deserve some votes. You got CP3. He's taking a team. Well, we spoke about it before. If you take that player out of them, what are they going to do? CP3's made such an impact on them that they've finished second in the league. First time in ages Phoenix has finished like that since the Nash days. Pardon me. And then if you're looking at stat packers, you got Jokic and Giannis. And personally, I mean, I like Embiid. He's been one of those most dominant players. He's almost sort of a bit reminiscent of Shaq, how he just gets the ball and he's just dunking on folks and just controlling that paint, sort of old school style. But at the same time, he can take it out and hit a three or a little fadeaway, which is a bit, it is what it is. That's the game. That's the game that we've molded it, that it's molded into, that we have today. We got big guys shooting outside shots. But with all that being said, I reckon Jokic will probably end up winning it. But I think it should be CP3 or Embiid personally. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm like you. I think Jokic is going to win the MVP this year. Only because when you look at the teams that are at the top, like I think traditionally you got to pick the guy that's been the man to put their team at the top. I mean, you take Embiid or the Joker away, those teams won't make the playoffs.
No.
So and the fact that Embiid has been injured same amount of days that LeBron's been injured, right? So,
yeah, man. So it's funny how LeBron's not in the conversation because they say he's been hurt heaps, but Embiid. Yeah. But I mean, look, if you look at the numbers, then yeah, LeBron's numbers don't match up to these guys. But with that all being said, I mean, look at Jokic. He's even with Jamal Murray being out, he's still holding it down for the Nuggets. So you got to take your hat off for that. And like you said, I reckon Jokic is probably going to get it. But I mean, all in all, it's one of those. It's one of those awards that I think should just be They should wait till the end of the year. Wait till after the finals are done, and then hand it out. So you don't have guys. You're not handing out the MVP to people that can't even make it past the second round or the third round. Look at Giannis. Couldn't make it to the finals the last 2 years, and he even said it last year. I think after he got his award, he was like, "Why are you giving it to me? Look where I'm at. I'm at home."
Ash, I'm just looking at those other awards. So you got a 6-man award?
Man.
Who have you got for that?
6-man, I got Jordan Clarkson, former Laker, but that's not why. He's had a couple 40-point games, 30 plus 30-point games. But he's had a huge impact on Utah. I mean, the guy's averaging 18 points, 4 rebounds, and 2.5 assists. He's shooting 30. Oh, what is he shooting? Where the hell is this? Yeah, he's shooting 35% from 3. This year he's had 22 games with a plus minus of over 10. With a lot of these sitting in the sort of the 17, 18 range. And he's averaging, a decent amount of minutes a game. So, with all that being said, I mean, you look at the last 2 winners. You got Schroeder and Trez, who are now with the Lakers. They don't play that same role anymore. But if you were to take Jordan Clarkson out of Utah, they were a 3rd or 4th seed team at best without him because he's that sort of glue guy off the bench. And I'm sure there's a lot of teams he could start for, but he's found himself a home. And I reckon he's my pick for 6-man of the year. I think we spoke about it before already. Julius Randle, I reckon he should be. He's most improved. I mean, the guy he averages 17 points a year, and he's jumped up to 24 now. What was he averaging last year? Yeah, he's averaging 19 and 20 over the last 2 years, and now he's up to 24. He's had 3 40 pieces, and he's had 12 30-plus point games this year and 6 triple-doubles. The dude's – and look, he's another guy who's single-handedly taken a team and dragged them into playoff contention, where the Knicks have never been in that – nobody talks about the Knicks in playoffs for ages. And look, you got to give the man credit. I haven't watched him a lot this year, but when I have, what I have seen of him, it's a refined version of what we had in LA. and he's got that confidence now, shooting from the three, that little fadeaway that he sort of had back then, and finishing at the rim. Julius, he's a beast. And then rookie of the year.
Yeah.
Who you got, man?
I got LaMelo Ball for that one. Although I was a big fan of Anthony Edwards, especially with his highlights. Man, he was like a smooth. He reminded me of a young Dwayne Wade. You know, I thought he was going to turn into that type of player.
That's a great comparison. No, that's a great comparison. He's got that sort of slashing ability. He can shoot. He's got a shot. I think that's something that he'll probably develop a bit more. I mean, he's already shooting a 3-point shot at a 33 clip. So look, he's had 2 40 pieces this year as well. I had LaMelo until he got hurt, and then when he got hurt, it was like, okay, well, who else is there? And that Halliburton guy for Sacramento was balling out. And then Anthony Edwards started doing this thing. I think it sort of also had to do with Minnesota not really having anything to play for. And they decided, look, let's just run the offense to him, let him do his thing. And they've allowed him sort of grow into, what we're seeing now with Anthony Edwards. But LaMelo's back. He's doing his damn thing again. His crazy ass passes, his alley oops, shooting threes. He's the best ball boy. He's better than so. I was a big Lonzo fan. I was sad to see him leave when he went to the Pellies, but it is what it is. That's the only way we could have gotten AD. But he's bad, man. You imagine if Golden State had drafted him instead of Wiseman, and you would have had him and Steph bringing up the court. That would have been some scary shit, man.
How much of LaMelo Ball's sort of like experience with bypassing college and going straight to professional, playing in the Australian League, and then coming into the NBA that way? Because when you hear the commentators talk about him play, he's like a veteran already.
No,
he knows all the tricks and all that.
Absolutely right. His dad, I mean, people want to clown LeVar Ball all they want, but the man, he's spoken into existence. he decided, look, I'm going to put my kids in a professional environment and let them play with the men. And that's the way you got to do it. Well, that's not the way you got to do it, but he decided to do it that way, and it worked. He sent his boys to Lithuania. They played over there. They got their first taste of the professional balling, professional basketball, and then ended up in Australia. I think it's a great idea because they've got that whole system set up where guys can bypass college, play a year in the NBL, and then be eligible for the draft. R.J. Hampton came for played for the Breakers, was in the same sort of thing. And I don't know if you know, but you know how LaMelo's even bought. Did he buy the whole team, or is he bought just part of the team that he played for?
He bought the
Illawarra. Yeah, did he buy the whole team, or did he buy part of it? Sure. He did. He either bought the team or he bought half the team, or something like a massive share in the team, which is crazy. He's like, what the fuck? This dude's a rookie, man. Really? Rookie deal with the NBA? Oh yeah, I'll just go buy that team real quick, man. But it worked, man. Because look,
I know Sean Marion owns a bit of the Breakers, eh? Is that right? That's
that's right. He did that a while back, huh? Because if you go to the games, you see him I think before COVID, you'd see him in the stands every now and then. But yeah, look, it worked. And you look at LaMelo Ball, but again, I don't. He might be just one of those guys where he's got that chip on his shoulder. He came out the other day saying, "Dude, I could have been playing the NBA when I was 14."
It's shit like that lose fans,
He either loses it or he gains it. Because I tell you what, man, that kind of shit to me, I'm like, dude, all right, you got some balls, or you can talk some shit like that. Dude. You put a target on your back, if anything. You know what I mean? But the dude, he shows up, man. Did you see that underarm pass he threw like 3/4 of the court? I hit the guy in stride.
Yeah, he's doing all sorts of no-look passes and stuff like that. He's a human highlight reel.
Oh, he is, man. And I would really be interested to see what he can do if they make the playoffs. I mean, it's a tall order. The teams they got to beat to go anywhere is it's going to be tough.
They're an exciting team, no doubt about it. And I think with the likes of Rozier there as well.
Yeah. And
Um,
is it? Oh God, what's the other guy? Is it Bridges or something like that?
yeah,
Miles Bridges.
Miles Bridges. Yeah,
Dude, those two are just like it's ridiculous because he can dunk like LaMelo can dunk as well. He's not a dunker as per se, but he can throw it down if he wanted to. But he doesn't have to because he's got Bridges. He just throws the shit up and the dude catches and he's doing these ridiculous dunks.
yeah, yeah.
Nah, we've got an exciting future for the next say 4 or 5, 10 years in the NBA. Some of these young kids coming up through the ranks as well. It's good. It's good for us basketball fans to know that we got an exciting product that even though LeBron and Steph are getting old, it doesn't mean it's going to fall off. It's just going to keep getting good.
I think during this podcast we've been talking about how exciting it is to be looking forward to the playoffs and the season. We haven't even talked about bloody Zion.
Oh shit, dude!
We haven't talked about him yet. You know?
That's right. There's players that aren't even like in it. You know what I mean? And or have no real chance of doing anything big. Because I mean, we already spoke about Memphis, but I think Memphis is a team for the future as well. I mean, Jaren Jackson Jr. He's a baller. He stays healthy, and you got John Morant next to him. Those guys are gonna just. That'll be a sick team in the future.
I also like the Cavs backcourt. Sexton.
Sexton, yeah, man.
Sexton and the rookie they got, he's pretty good too. I forgot his name. He was coming off the bench, but I think that backcourt, if he's on with Sexton, I think there'll be a backcourt for the future.
And they've got a couple pieces. Look, they got Jared Allen now. That C.D. Osman, he is what he is. I think he could be potentially like a good role player. And I think what we might see in the next 4 or 5 years are some of these guys that are on teams that aren't really going to do anything, like a Bradley Beal. You know, we had a laugh earlier on about Bradley Beal. You know, it was like, dude, you're stuck on a Wizard. Your team sucks. But you imagine if Bradley Beal, let's just say, you stole out. Imagine he went to Atlanta and he played with Trae Young, and then they got John Collins there, and they got a couple other pieces around him. Got Clint Capella. That right there, you put Bradley Beal on that team, that's a contender in the East. Because you got a point guard that can drop 40, drop 35 if he wanted to, doesn't have to. So I think what we might see is some of these stars that are sort of sitting on these shitty teams that can't really get much done might end up in some of these teams where they've got some really good pieces. And again, I mean, I can't stress it makes for good basketball. It brings parity to the game. It is not us seeing the same good teams over and over and over again. I mean, look, I'd love to see the Lakers win it every year. Don't get me wrong, but it makes for good for good entertainment to have parity in the game.
Yeah. Okay, man.
Playoffs.
We're going to the playoffs and your predictions, because I think you did a lot of looking into the scenario.
Yeah, man. I had
scenarios of what's going on. So let's just start with the Eastern Conference. Who do you think is coming on top there?
All right, so let's go to the East. All right, let's assume Charlotte and Washington come out of those play-in tournament games, right? So then you'd have Philly and Charlotte up first in the first round. I got Philly winning that in 5. Charlotte might steal a game, being exciting and whatnot. LaMelo might pull one out the hat. Then you got the Knicks and the Hawks. That's a 6-game series going to the Knicks. Julius Randle's too much. They got nobody to really shut him down. Milwaukee, Miami. I got Milwaukee winning that in 6. I think that Giannis he's got something to prove. Unfortunately for Miami, they don't have Oladipo. That might have been enough to put them over the edge again, but unfortunately, I think Milwaukee's going to take that. And then you got Brooklyn and Washington, which I think will be the most underrated series of the playoffs, and I think that's going to go 7. Just because watching Westbrook go up against his old teammates with Bradley Beal, that's going to be some fireworks right there. I reckon that'll go 7 with Brooklyn winning that in 7. So then you end up with Philly and New York in the second round. I got Philly winning that in 6. I just don't think New York has enough to slow down Embiid. Julius Randle will pull a couple out the hat, and Derrick Rose. But at the end of the day, Philly going to take that in 6. And then Milwaukee and Brooklyn, I got Milwaukee winning that in 6. Milwaukee won people might say, oh, really, Brooklyn? Milwaukee handled them in the season series. Brooklyn they are an excellent, they're an offensive juggernaut. Unfortunately, Milwaukee are a defensive team, and I'll hang my head on defense every time. Defense wins championships, and I got Giannis just monstering folks. Nobody's going to stop him in the key. He's going to be dunking on KD and whatnot. It'll be great. So then you're going to end up with Philly and Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals, and I got Philly winning that in 7.
I like that. I like that you've got Philadelphia and Milwaukee there, because these are two teams that have been together for quite a while now. They've kept their core, and I think that's what you need to be experienced team, especially teams like those teams. Because if you think about, I remember when I was a Miami Heat fan, because I was a Dwayne Wade fan, and so I followed Miami Heat before the Big Three came. But when the Big Three came, they promised all those championships when LeBron did that. And they did that, yeah, that's right. And what happened that first year? See, they lost to
Dallas. Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's right. Because I think teams need 1 year to gel, need to have their chemistry built.
Absolutely right.
It's really hard to put a team together and then win the first year. It's really hard to do that.
Boston. Did Boston? No, they were the one-off. Did they win in their first year? Or they won in the second year as well. When they put the big 3 together. Shit, I can't remember, but I know what you mean. You got to have that year. When you had LeBron come to LA, took a year, but then you had him and AD together last year, and they made it work. Yeah, you got to have that year. Brooklyn, I just think karma's going to get him in the ass, and you can't buy a chip. There's a lot of people out there that might say I'm just talking shit, but hey. It is what it is, man. You got a whole bunch of weirdos on one team.
Well, again, that's a team that got put together real fast.
Yeah, man.
Quick. I mean, probably half the season, they've finally got their team. They've got their role players. But that's also a team that lacks defensively.
Yep, they don't play defense. No. I mean, it's funny to hear some of these sports guys. They might have a game where they keep somebody down to like 105 points. Like, oh, they finally figured it out. That's it, game over. Oh, they're playing defense. I'm like, come on, man, really? One game? Bullshit, dude. Defense wins championships. I truly believe. Even those the Warriors teams that won all they won that was 3 out of 4 years. They had one of the top defenses in the league as well. A lot of people talk about Splash Brothers. Yeah, man, but they played defense. They had a badass D. Lakers teams of the past had great defenses. The Pistons teams of the past had great defenses. You can't put a team together and just win it based solely on buckets. Who knows? You might get lucky and do it once or twice, but it's nah. I don't buy into it.
Do I have to go to the West? Do I have to go to the West? Because I think I know who got to come out of the West.
We got to go to the West, man. We got to go to the West. So
I can guess who got to come out of the West.
We'll get there. So we'll just assume that Golden State ends up in the 8th seed. Lakers. This is my assumption. The Lakers win the 7th seed. So first you got Utah and Golden State. I think Golden State, they just don't have the depth to handle the 3-point barrage that Utah's going to come with. They're a bit bigger than Golden State, and it's going to be Steph on his own. I reckon Steph on his own can win 2 games, so that's going to be Utah in 6. I got Clippers and Dallas in the second round. That is going to go 7-game series, I reckon. Just as close as it was last year. Unfortunately, I think Clippers will still win. Then you got Denver and Portland. I'm sorry, as much as I'd like to see it. And I do. And I hope you guys do win it. But I think Denver's going to pull that out in 7. Joker's going to do his thing. And then, of course, you got Phoenix and my Lakes. And that's Lakers in 5s. So in the second round, they just can't handle it. They can't handle AD and Bron. Look, Booker, I'm not even going to get into it. Phoenix can't handle us. That'll be Lakers in 5. Second round, we're going to have Utah and the Clippers. Again, I think Utah, Clippers, second round. They just don't go past the second round. The second round champs, that's all they do. they can win divisions, they can get to second round, and then they just throw it in. They're like, nah, yeah, we made it here. They might even go up 2-0 in this series and then lose 4 straight. But it's going to be Utah in 6. They're going to win that 4-2. They're going to do a usual Clipper choke job. And then you got Denver and my Lakes. And again, it's going to be Lakers in 5. So that'll set up with the Utah Jazz and my Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. And again, they just don't have Gobert can't stop AD. You got Drummond running next to him. By that time, we're in the 3rd round. He's just running it. Everybody's ticking along, and that's going to be Lakers in 5. So that'll set up. Actually, the way I've got it written here is it actually don't matter who we play. And in the great words of O'Shea Jackson Jr., which is Ice Cube's son, it's going to be Lakers in 5. And unfortunately, it's just going to be Lakers in Philly. And it is what it is. And yeah, no, that's look. I'm a homer, so of course I'm going to say Lakers all the way. But again, I said it earlier. The Lakers' biggest enemy and the biggest competition in the playoff run will be the Lakers themselves, and it's going to be staying healthy. And I truly believe that if the Lakers stay healthy, we'll win it back to back. If somebody gets hurt along the way, then yeah, no, who knows? Now, let's flip it around. Someone gets hurt, or we lose somewhere along the way. I don't think Utah has what it takes to win it. I don't think the Clippers have what it takes to win it. I actually think it's going to go to the East, and I think Philly's probably going to win it. It'll be Philly or Milwaukee. Unfortunately, because I just don't see anybody out from the West. I look at it again. The only team out the West that can make serious noise against an East team, and this is only if the chips fall right, and I'm not saying this because you're on here, is probably Portland, or like a massive upset with like a Golden State where Steph just goes nuts and just drags that team all the way through. But look, that's just me saying. I think if we don't win it, it's going to be an East team, and it'll probably be Philly or Milwaukee.
I like what you said about Portland, and I think the key for Portland is that I think Kensa and Nurkic have to be on the court at the same time. They have to be on the court at the same time.
What did he have? Was it 20 and 20? It was a 20-20 game, wasn't it, Cannon? We had those 20-something rebounds. If they play big, they'll do okay. And Portland's one of those teams that once they get on a roll, and you've seen them, man, the last couple of years, you can't really beat them. And Portland's another team similar to the Lakers where it's only Portland that can beat Portland. If you know what I mean.
Well, they're a team that thrive on the 3-pointer.
Yeah.
So if they're hot, they're gonna win. If they're not,
they shoot themselves out of the game.
Exactly.
And this is a whole side thing that I talk about a lot. I hate how the game has floated towards this whole 3-point shooting, like where it's so like if you got a fast break, they run down. What do? Pass up a layup, chuck it out, shoot a 3-pointer. Like, dude, come on, man. Look, I know people are shooting at a higher clip, but it's simple math to me. And this is coming from a Laker fan who we don't have the best 3-point shooting team in the league, where I see us try to compete with these other teams that can shoot at a high clip, and they're just like, bang, hit a three, hit a three, hit a three. And we go down, we try to match them shot for shot, and we'll miss 3 in a row. And I'm like, dude, you guys have been passing up like high percentage shots to the key, and you're not even trying to get it into the key. I mean, you get 2 twos out of 3 possessions, that's 4 points. You shoot 3 threes in 3 possessions and you miss them all, that's 0 points, man. What the hell's going on? It's simple math. And then all of a sudden now you're down by 12 points when you were only down by 3. But what the fuck is going on, man? But it's live by the 3, die by the 3. It's the old saying, you know what I mean? And unfortunately, there's guys that can really shoot like Steph Curry's and Dame Lillard's. Fuck. Shit. I don't know about you, but do you play much ball, man?
I used to play some ball.
So
I haven't played it in a while.
I just started playing again with my son's his team, and these kids, they just jacking up threes left and right, and you're just like, It's you're just watching too much basketball. Well, you can't blame him for watching too much basketball, but you know what I mean? It's like, what happened to working around, get into the key and do a hook shot or get a layup, get an easy 2 point, high percentage shots.
I don't think you've watched. Have you watched the NBL, the New Zealand League?
Uh,
Man,
I
that's all they're doing, shooting threes.
yeah, man.
That's
I watched a bit of the Breakers game the other day, and they've got this tall ass import, the big black dude. I forget his name, and he was killing it in the key, man. He was dunking on folks. He had a nice little sweeping hook, and I think it was the game that went to overtime maybe a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago, and he ended up with the ball. I think it was just inside the 3 point line, and he decided to take a few steps out and shoot a three. And the dude's got one of the ugliest shots. I mean, no hating on him or anything, but dude, you're not a 3 point shooter, man. Maybe make him in practice and whatnot, but you should not be the guy shooting the three. And he clanked it off the side. I was like, dude, what are you doing, man? So I don't know, but it's where the game's going. I mean, you got centers all shooting threes now. If you're a big man and you don't shoot it, you don't have a 3 point shot. Well, you're not going to be as in demand as the majority of these other centers because everybody shoots three now. You look at Dwight Howard had to try to JaVale McGee last year. Those two were trying to shoot threes at some point. It was just like, really, that's not your game, man. Stay inside, bro.
Sharp, brother.
No, all good,
We're gonna wrap up, but I just want to get your score for the Warriors Lakers game on Thursday.
All right, I predict. I'm not really good with picking scores. I reckon we'll win between 10 and 15, and that's if we keep Steph under 35. I reckon it'll be 110-95. And
Nice.
I reckon we keep him under 100. We let Steph get his 35 and nobody else get anything else. Because who else is going to score? What, Wiggins? Who really is Wiggins going to be the guy to beat us? Hell no. Kuzma will shut his ass down. And that's just me being blunt. Like I just can't see it. Don't get me wrong. We can have a bad shooting day and everything can just go wrong and we lose. But that's my personal, honest prediction. I think that's what's going to happen. Sorry, Dave. Sorry, Nick. Those are my usos. But yeah, they want to watch the game on Thursday. I got a meeting. I can't watch it with them. No. What about you? What do you think?
To tell you the truth, I think the Lakers will win. And I think the Warriors will win their next game, which means they'll keep the 7 and 8 spot. Those two. But I like your predictions for the West. I just, and you're right about the Lakers. They're the only ones that can beat themselves. And the injury is a concern. I think LeBron's not 100%. That's a concern.
Yeah, man. I don't know if you saw the last game. Did you see the last game? That shit was scary, man. Right at the end, we were up by 13 with like 4 or 5 minutes left, 3 or 4 minutes left. He had a layup, and after that, he stepped on a dude's foot, sat down, and held his ankle. I just thought, oh, fuck, here we go. I was ready to call it in. I was thinking, like, there we go. That's the season. We'll just wait till next year. But thank God, he's still going to play. So who knows, man? You're right. Thanks for having me, Oos.
No worries, man. Thanks for jumping on board. And
no,
man,
all good.
We're going to do this again.
Yeah, hard up. Do it again. Catch up. After the play-in, man? I reckon have a little catch-up, man. And just shoot the shit, man. Let's see. Or maybe after the first round. Up to you, man. You just let me know, man. Who does it?
Most definitely, brother. Okay.
All right, Oos. Good looking out, brother.
Yo. Bye.
Fazoli.